Hey there, friends. It's Lauren with Rustic Honey, and today I wanted to bring you along as I try to go back through and revisit those homemaking habits that we talked about earlier this year. I had 10 that I shared with you back in February, I think it was, and I thought it would be fun to do a video and kind of revisit what's been working, what's not working, and what needs a little bit of tuning up as we move through the summer months. July is a great month to be thinking about the rest of the year because we find ourselves, at least I do, after the 4th of July, wondering where the first half of the year went. I feel like time is flying this year with having a new baby in our home, especially, which it usually flies anyway with the kids home during the summer. But this summer is flying by like crazy, and I just want to revisit those goals that I had set for myself for the year and the habits that I really wanted to hone in on and make sure that I'm showing up for those things that I really want to show up for, and just kind of reevaluate everything before we get into the craziness of the fall. The first habits I had for myself this year was to start making our own sandwich bread. I think I had shared this in our last video, but I had made sourdough for a year the year before this to get really comfortable with that process. But this year, I just wanted to perfect a sandwich bread that my family would love so that we could hopefully stop buying the store-bought bread. Now, we had a good laugh because my kids started calling the store-bought bread normal bread. In fact, my husband, I think in the last video I told you they were calling it regular bread, which sounded bad enough, but they call it normal bread. My husband corrected me on that. Needless to say, I have not won everyone in my family over yet on my homemade bread, but we're getting closer. And in today's video, I'm going to show you something that we had for lunch with our homemade bread that they absolutely loved. Now, a second habit that I had for this year that I really wanted to try to get myself into is doing dishes on demand. Normally, I would do dishes at the end of the day so that I would have a clean sink when I wake up in the morning. As you can see, I don't always put away the dried dishes that are clean. I try to just leave all of that in the dishwasher for the next morning. But dishes on demand means to me that I am constantly putting things in the dishwasher, and the dishwasher is in fact empty and ready to be filled throughout the day so that I can have a clean sink at any moment in the day. Because you guys know as well as I do that if there's a dish in the sink, pretty soon there's 2 or 3. It's like a fire. It's kind of like surface clutter, which I'll also talk about in this video. But it seems like if I just keep on top of it as I cook every single meal throughout the day, especially in the summer because we're cooking a lot more at home throughout the day than we are during the school year, I can kind of keep on top of it if I do dishes as they come into the sink. The only thing I've added to this is washing bottles twice a day as well. Now, the system is not completely perfect, but I will say that habit has been on track throughout the summer. We're going to let this bread rise, and I'm going to talk to you about my third habit, which is drinking more water. Now, this one I feel like I do okay with, but it just depends on the day. Sometimes I lose my water jug for a couple hours, and then I really realize, oh, I haven't had enough water today. So what helps me is to have a really big hydro jug like this to fill up with water, and so worst case scenario, I will drink one of those for the day. Something that helps me remember to drink water is incorporating a workout routine, which I am slowly trying to get back into now that I am in this stage of my postpartum journey. And I'm trying to just commit to a 10-minute Tabata, maybe once a day, maybe every other day, just really trying to lean into it. But I found this cool app that I'm showing you there that does all the timing for you. And sometimes all it takes is a new app on my phone to just reboot that system. It makes me excited to go work out. So I've done that a few times this week, and let's be honest, most of us have 10 minutes. So with that little Tabata workout or a HIIT workout, if you will, you can choose your exercises. So I just chose 3 exercises to do. I think the first day I did squats, jumping jacks, and skaters. And those were the only 3 workouts that I did. And I did 3 rounds of it. So a full 10-minute workout. And it got my heart pumping and I was sweating. And you know what? It was done in 10 minutes, which even with a new baby in the home, I can at least commit to that. I think that's the thing about getting back on track. Sometimes you just have to force yourself to take that first step. And if it's a new app on your phone, do that. It may be hard to take the first step, but I had to explain this to my kids earlier in this week. But an object in motion stays in motion. We know this, and I know this. It's a good reminder for myself too. So sometimes just getting up and starting a project, setting your timer for 5 minutes and saying, okay, I'm going to do the dishes. And then that momentum carries through to the rest of your day. So I think if we can just remember to focus on this moment and how I can become 1% better right now, it will trickle down into our bigger goals. So often we're fixated on the bigger goal or the end goal, the end result, that what we want out of these habits. But really what it comes down to is in that moment, getting 1% better every single day. And really, once we do reach goals, it's just a really quick high and then you're back down. So we have to really learn to just enjoy the moment. So my next habit is going for a walk, and talk about enjoying the moment. We're going to move outside. One of my favorite things to do in the summertime, especially when my kids are home from school, take them for a morning walk. Now, July here in Missouri is always a gamble. It's a pretty sultry morning already, and we're later than I had hoped to get out here for our walk. So it's warming up quickly, but we're going to go do a few morning chores around the farm. And I had to show you the baby chicks. If you've been following our channel for a while, these were our small chicks that we got this spring. I had my husband splurge on a couple Moran chickens because they lay beautiful eggs, but one of them turned into a rooster. So joke's on us. We only ended up with one chicken and now we have a rooster, which was not the plan. Okay, back to our outdoor walk. One of the habits I wanted to do this year was continue the habit of walking outdoors. There's just so many benefits to walking outside, but pairing it also with gratitude as we're walking really supercharges this habit and really sets the tone for the day. Simply going for your walk and thinking of 3 things you're grateful for the day can really set the tone and make you more centered and more grateful for your life. Now, the next habit I want to talk about is reading, and that is something I'm also working on with my kids this summer. We've been taking regular trips to the local library, which has been a fun little outing for us too, and it's getting them some reading time in, which is much needed, of course, for my kiddos as well. Now, I don't often get to my own reading during this time because I am usually helping someone else read, but as you can see, I can do other things for my kids while they're reading, or little chores here and there, or get dressed for the day, which I am way behind on today. During the summer, that's what I love though. We have a very flexible schedule. So I may work out late in the morning and then get dressed. And that's just fine. I have to be okay with it. I love structure and routine, but in the summer, I try to be as free as possible. That's the thing about habits. And when you create good ones, you continue to do them either way. So even if you're not in your regular routine, I'm sure you remember to brush your teeth. Same thing with all of these habits. If you just become more structured with them, even if they're not perfectly in order every day, you have those good habits, you can continue to perform them. Now, making the bed. I know everyone tells you to make your bed, but it's so true. It makes such a difference in your room it makes it look so much tidier instantly just to have your bed made. And I don't have any fancy cushions and pillows and layers. I just make the bed. And another thing that I have paired with this habit is to tidy up the spaces around our room and take things back to their homes, which I honestly have been horrible about lately. So for this video, as you can see, I am finally putting away some things that little Miss has already outgrown. We are already outgrowing our newborn clothes and I can't believe it. So I'm trying to tidy up a few things around our bedroom today and get her put down for her morning nap. All right, now that I've let this bread cool for a while, coming out of the oven, the moment of truth. Here, we're going to cut it open and we're going to start making some lunch for the kiddos today. I've been trying to clean out our freezer and I came across a bag of tomato soup that I had made this past winter. I'm trying to get rid of all these things, especially because I know I will be preserving things soon and I may want to throw fresh tomatoes into my freezer at some point. So trying to clean it out. I know that soup is probably not your usual go-to in the month of July, but today we are going to just have that with a little grilled cheese for a nice little lunch. And I am running low on cheese, which I had kind of forgotten about until I started making lunch today. So I'm pulling out the remnants of everything I have, including some cream cheese, some Parmesan, and some sharp cheddar cheese. I mean, it should turn out to be a pretty delicious little trio. But that is another thing that I would like to start doing more as we finish out the new year. using up leftovers, which I like to think we do a pretty good job of, but getting creative with some of the leftovers is sometimes harder to do. But with the rising cost of groceries, I'm starting to find that I need to do this more often. We need to use up what we have and just get creative in the kitchen. I know that a grilled cheese sandwich isn't the most creative thing I could come up with, but I'm just giving this as an example that maybe we should use what we have a little bit more often, write down all the ingredients and see what we could make. Another thing that I am using up is the last part of my homemade mayo. And just a quick tip, if you've never tried this, put homemade mayo or any kind of mayo on the outside of your sandwiches while you're grilling them instead of butter. And it just creates the most flavorful, crisp crust on the outside. These sandwiches with the homemade bread turned out so good, and my kids absolutely devoured them. I made extras because I thought I'll just let them cool. I'll stick them in the fridge. My kids love to go grab something cold from the fridge later in the day, so I figured I would save myself some time. I'm so glad I did. They were a total hit for lunch and snacks later in the day. The trio of the cheeses you will have to try. I thought it was quite delicious with a tomato soup. Now, have you given any thought to the habits you set for yourself in January? Have you continued to go after your goals, or did they go to die on a postcard somewhere and you forgot all about them? That don't feel bad. That often happens to all of us. We forget about what we set out to do at the beginning of the year because life gets busy and we just go throughout our days and our routines and our habits, but they don't necessarily reflect the goals that we're trying to go after. So I always think this time of year is a perfect time to go back through those goals, dig out the dusty postcard, maybe rewrite them. Maybe life has changed a little bit for you too, and you need to reassess what's really a priority and what's not. But I think the number one thing to getting back on track is to pause and reflect and ask yourself those questions. Now, I have to get back on track with a cup of coffee this morning and start some laundry. Again, I'm behind on all of my things today, but we are getting them done, and that's what matters. They're the habits throughout the day that are important to me to make my home run efficiently. So while I'm starting this load of laundry, the baby is laying down for an afternoon nap and my kids are playing independently. So I am going to set my timer for 10 minutes and make myself do a couple things here in my office that need to be done for my business. Now, this is what I call a 10-minute sprint. And this is another way that I motivate myself to get something done. It's just 10 minutes. If I start the project, usually I can finish it. It doesn't take me as long as I thought it would. And this is another one of those momentum habits again. Once I sat down and knocked out something on my list, it only took me 10 minutes. Pro tip, hide your phone in a drawer while it has the timer set. That way you're not looking at it, you're not distracted by anything else, and you're focused solely on the task at hand. And once I got that done, I felt so motivated then to go downstairs and finish up some other tasks that I needed to get done. One of those was to plan out some recipes for a party we're going to be having soon and get all of the groceries ordered ahead of time. And I may have to do another home systems video soon because this is another home system that rocks. It is my binder full of recipes. So let me know in the comments below if you would like to know more about that. Moving on to my home basket, this is my habit of deflecting the paper clutter that comes into our lives. And it has been a little bit of out of hand, I feel like, since having the baby, because I am more likely to just throw things in the basket and not get to it right away. And that is more of a scheduling conflict than anything, but the actual habit of putting things in that basket and controlling the organization in that way has helped a lot. One thing I'm going to change up is making a separate basket for our homeschool items, because in the summer when I want to have learning time and I want to break out those worksheets, I don't necessarily want to get out my home basket because then I get distracted by bills and things I need to do. So I'm going to separate those two completely. For our home basket, it's just going to be things for my husband and I to have our honey money meeting weekly. I encourage you to always look at your habits and your systems and see where you're faltering or where you could improve. And that is one of the things I'm changing up. I've also found that reading time changes a lot with a newborn, as most of you would know. I used to read before bed with my lamp on, but now that the baby's sleeping in the bassinet in my room, I don't necessarily have time to do that. So instead of looking at my phone or being distracted, Since our feedings are taking a good 20 to 25 minutes still, I decided to start reading a book. And sometimes I'll just read aloud to her. Obviously, she could care less what I'm actually telling her, but she loves just to hear mommy's voice. So that's just what I'm doing to get my reading time in now, and I'm really enjoying it. We're also trying to get some fresh flowers in our home more often. We always have a bunch of zinnias in the front of our garden, and I feel like I have not been out there to pick them as much as I would like to. So this year I just decided we have all these flowers in abundance. I should probably be cutting a bouquet once a week and just really enjoying them on my table in my home. And as you can imagine, my daughter is also loving that habit. She got to help me today and pick out all of the wonderful, vibrant colors to put in our bouquet. Now, I'm really passionate about this habit, and it is time for devotion or Bible study, which I have to admit I have not been doing quite as well with now having the newborn and 3 other kids running around. So one thing that has helped me to still set aside this time is by using this Bible app. I can break this out in the morning while I'm feeding my daughter and listen to the reflection, read the scripture quote for the day, and have a little prayer time as well. So definitely check that app out. It is not sponsored in any way. I'm just sharing some things that I love with you guys. Now, one thing I am trying to do that's new is a basket cleaning method. I'm sure you've seen some people do this, but we struggle with surface clutter in our home like crazy, on the floors, on the flat surface of the tables. And so if nothing else, I'm trying to get that clutter into the basket and then have the habit of emptying the basket at the end of the day. So far so good. I'll have to update you on that habit. Here is the ending of my laundry system for the day. Now, again, this is another tip, is to pair your habit with something else you enjoy. And I have really stuck with this one because I so enjoy to listen to a YouTube video or a podcast while I fold all the laundry. And honestly, sometimes it feels like a little bit of me time. I know that sounds crazy, but you'll have to find something you enjoy if you want to enjoy these mundane tasks every day. All right, I hope that encouraged you to get back on track with your habits for the year. Let me know in the comments below which habits you're rocking and maybe which ones you need to get back on track with. I would love to know and hear from you below. I hope you're enjoying your summer, and we'll see you back here again soon.